The Gray Man is directed by the Russo Brothers and stars Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, and Ana de Armas. When the CIA's most skilled operative accidentally uncovers dark secrets, the agency puts a bounty on his head, setting off a global manhunt. I had no intention of reviewing this movie because I had no intention of watching this movie, mainly because I had never even heard of it. I didn't even know it existed. That was until Friday when I was looking at my Netflix and saw that it was the #1 movie on Netflix at the moment. Thought to myself, okay, Netflix original, that's fair enough. But then, not only did I see that it was from the Russo brothers who directed it, who also directed 3 of the best Marvel movies in the entire MCU, and Avengers Endgame, and it also featured the all-star cast that I mentioned earlier. So already I was interested, even though I had never even seen a trailer for it. I had never even seen any promotional material for this movie in the slightest. And after watching it, honestly, I can see why. It's fine, it's just, I don't know, doesn't meet the standards. Alright, so before we get into that, let's just go over the best part about this movie, the action. The action in this movie is spectacular. The choreography is quick and brutal and just awesome to look at, especially with the cinematography being full of these really great long takes, but also the editing being quick, but quick enough so that you know what's going on, but quick in the way that it just feels brutal. Every cut, every slash, every punch, you do feel it. And even in the big shootout sequences, it feels appropriately chaotic. It never feels messy. And even though the action is appropriately awesomely fun, the only thing possibly even more fun than the action is Chris Evans. He is just having the time of his life as the villain of this movie. He is so loose, so funny, and so oddly quotable in this movie. He might be the one person in this entire movie just having the time of his life and just letting loose. I mean, to be fair, after spending 10 years playing the Boy Scout of the cinematic universe, a villain role must feel like a breath of fresh air. And when he and Gosling interact with each other around halfway through the movie and onwards, that is where the interactions reach their peak in this film. The beginning of this movie starts with Ryan Gosling in a prison talking to another character. If that character was Chris Evans' character and that interaction was just the entire movie, I would have been 100% satisfied. They do great together, and they do great in this movie. But with that said, even though the action is awesome and the hero-villain dynamic is so good, those are really the only positives that I have to say about the movie. But even then, they are big positives, just everything else. And I think most of that reaction just comes from the characters and the story, because the two of them combined are ungodly generic. We've seen the rogue agent angle of a film done before time and time again, and in this film, there's nothing really added to that story. And then you have the characters that you just don't care about, even though they have clearly established histories intersecting with other characters in the film, and they all have relationships with each other. You never really care because there's not much time spent to the development of these characters. And you never really feel the connections between the characters because, if I'm being completely honest, the chemistry in this film is almost nowhere. With the exception of Evans and Gosling together, no one else in this entire movie has any chemistry with each other. Everyone kind of just looks and acts bored, like they don't even want to be there for some reason. Especially, oddly enough, Gosling, who, when he's not interacting with Evans' character, is just so dull. I get he did a similar sort of thing with his character in the movie Drive, but to be fair, the tone of Drive and the tone of The Gray Man are two completely different things. The character in Drive is supposed to be somber and stoic, but the character in The Gray Man is supposed to be charming and quippy, and even though the writing portrays him as charming and quippy, Gosling doesn't really act charming and quippy in this movie all that much. Don't get me wrong, I love his character in Drive, but I'll be honest, that sort of character doesn't really need to be Gosling's entire persona in every single action movie he's in. Although even though the story, the characters, and the chemistry is pretty much as generic as you could possibly get with an action movie, I have to give credit to the pacing. It does move along quickly, and it does move along very smoothly. And I know I'm going back and forth on the positives and negatives of this movie, and that's because, frankly, I have no real idea of what to make of it, because I do think this movie is perfectly watchable. It's just kind of disappointing. The action in the movie is awesome, Evans and Gosling have a great cat and mouse dynamic, and the pacing is smooth enough to make it more than an easy watch. However, that smooth pacing only covers up how generic everything else is. The story has been done to death, the characters are surprisingly boring, and the chemistry between most of the cast is non-existent. For a movie with this amazing of a cast and these amazing of directors, this seems like the most okay of bare minimums. I'm going to give The Gray Man a B. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite hero-villain dynamic? For me, it has to be Batman and the Joker. It's ever evolving, ever entertaining, you can just never go wrong with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, you guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.